Videos presents a Corey Adams production starring your 2002 Pro Truck Points champion Al Hogan, along with co-driver John Counter in Techno Desert.
From downtown Laughlin, and the trucks come in a couple of days early for a very specific reason.
Yeah, they do, and the reason for this is what we call contingency day. This is the day the manufacturers come in, they display their wares, a lot of spectators. What we do, most importantly, is do a very stringent tech. What we will check is make sure they have the right tires, they've got the rev limiter set right, the compression ratio, the carburetor. It's something that we feel is very, very important to keep a level playing field for our racing.
This is also a time for the various parts manufacturers to display their products, and of course, one of those featured, the Mastercraft seats.
Well, Mastercraft is the official seat of the Pro Truck Series. It's mandated, and it's amazing how far in the last 30 years that I've been racing, seat technology has come. These seats are just fantastic.
You got to be comfortable when you're out there, especially as you're going to see the way these trucks bounce around and the pounding that they take. The seats can absorb a lot of that pounding. And of course, it's also a chance for race fans to rub elbows with driver crew competition. This is from a couple of nights ago, and Alan now brings us up to date on the Pro Truck class.
We are really excited about our very first race being right here in downtown Laughlin. Not only do we have Ford, Dodge, Chevrolet, GMC, but now we have Toyota battling for this manufacturer's championship. About 425 horsepower, a real driver's class. Everyone has the same tires, the same shocks, the same wheel travel. We are going to have some fantastic racing. Great sponsorship package. So we're looking for some fantastic racing starting right here in Laughlin.
They have a unique format for the race in Laughlin. 2 identical races, and they combine the time from both races to determine a champion. It looks like Alan Pfluger, Ivan, has 2 co-drivers today. The one on the dash is going to be doing a lot of dancing. Let's take a look at our starting grid. In the first row, it will be Steve Barlow and Grayson Smith that will be driving for the Herzog Racing team. Al Hogan and Jeff Dickerson are in the second row. Alan Pfluger and Chet Huffman will start in the third row. Rob Reinerson and Tony Lasitra follow in the fourth row, and Dan Hunt and Bruce Friedman complete the field. We're just about ready to go with our first OLN race of the year. Ivan, as we move inside with Steve Barlow, we'll let race fans know the rows will start 30 seconds apart, so we will be factoring in the clock.
And this is so critical, as we know, to Ken, as I mentioned before, that, whoa, Steve has got some sort of problem. He killed the motor, I think.
Either killed or got stuck, one of the two.
He dug himself in on the starting line. That's okay, we'll get him. 299's off.
So there's the answer. His crew tells us he dug himself down trying to get maybe a power brake start.
It's probably trying to power brake the engine and just dug a hole.
Just go, 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 and don't slow down.
It's a shame because he's going to have to follow Grayson now for, and depending again on the dust.
As we jump back into the Red Bull racing truck, how much is this going to be a factor for Barlow the rest of this race, Ivan?
Well, Steve, it's really going to matter on how much the wind is blowing out in the desert and how silty the ground gets. You know, they've had a lot of different races out here, and if it gets very chewed up, these guys can, and there's no wind, and there is a wind, so we'll see.
Oh, man, Jeff Dickerson and Al Hogan really flying over that Laughlin lead nose to tail. And back at the start line now, the third row is ready to go. We're inside the Ford of Chet Huffman, and this will be Ford against Chevy in the drag races. He is next to Alan Pfluger.
This is what I love to see in racing. Ford versus Chevrolet. Chevrolet come out ahead. This is what it's all about, Steve, is to see what manufacturer is strong, what team is strong, who's got their truck set up well.
Back inside now, and Huffman is all over Pfluger's backside as they head to the Laughlin Leap, and Alan sends Chet a little mud pie in the face. Ivan, if these trucks are so close, why is there a difference in the speeds that they can get here in this first little drag race part of the course?
Well, there's a lot of different things that the guys can do to their trucks. A lot of it probably is gear ratio. A lot of times they'll make sacrifice for their speed out in the desert to get a good run through this infield area. So it's always a compromise. It might be springs. It might be tire pressure. It could be a lot of different things.
This is in the in-car camera of Rob Reinerson driving for Rick Johnson. He is drag racing the Chevy of Tony Lasitra, and this time it's the Ford out in front.
Well, that just goes to show that we've got a lot of different factors. Ford comes out on top one time, Chevrolet comes out on the top the next time.
Easy at the turn, easy at the turn, easy at the turn.
That's Armando Guzman co-driving with Rob, giving him some advice.
Okay, what these guys are talking about is that these corners have been graded and are relatively smooth until you put more and more traffic on them. So he's easy in the corner because he doesn't want to tip the truck over, get it up on 2 wheels.
These are the final 2 pro trucks, Bruce Friedman and Dan Hunt, and they also get the green flag. They're off and running.
2 Fords, again, interesting to see. Sometimes it's the drag race start. It could be just a guy gets a quicker start on the gas pedal.
Now well out into the desert, Grayson Smith has the Herzog racing truck running in clean air. And Ivan, here you can really see what a factor that dust is going to be today.
Well, this is where Steve Barlow pays the penalty for killing his engine, or getting stuck, rather, on the starting line. He's back in the dust, and it's just really hard to maintain that speed when you've got to contend with this dust.
Well, passing is tough to do on this course. It's fairly narrow, a good part of it. Jeff Dickerson here in the orange Ford has already put some distance between himself and Al Hogan.
Well, the thing is, what you got to really remember, these guys, there are so many rocks, there's so many different challenges in a race course like this. You remember, off-road racing is an all-day crash, and that's what these guys are trying to do, is crash just as gentle as they possibly can. So it's going to be several hours here that they'll be running and trying to go as quick as they can, but yet not take as little out of that race truck as they can.
This is the hard-charging Jeff Dickerson, and we'll remind you that this is racing against the clock. He started 30 seconds after Smith and Barlow, so on adjusted time, he's already pushing for the lead. I'm Steve Weiss, along with Ivan Stewart, and Ivan Grayson Smith has the Herzog Racing Ford F-150 up in front about 5 seconds ahead of Steve Barlow's Red Bull truck.
Steve, we talked about the wind. You can see it's blowing across the track, at least right here, relatively well. And Steve is trying to just stay in the groove, not make a mistake, don't hit one of those big rocks, and not get too deep in that dust.
So looking at the adjusted time, Jeff Dickerson right here has pulled almost dead even alongside Smith for the top spot in this first of 2 races. He's also putting some dust between his pro truck and that of Al Hogan.
these guys are still trying to find the groove. They're just early in the race. They still want to be able